All right. Well, hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, August 5th, 2021, and you're on our show, which is On the Fly with Kai. And we come to you every single Thursday at 10 a.m. Standard Time Zone and all time zones in between. And today I'm delighted to bring to you just kind of a new friend of mine that I met us out networking. She's from Tennessee. I love this woman. She is a young millennial and a serial entrepreneur. She is sharp as a whip. Her friends call her Google because there's nothing she probably doesn't know about a little bit about anything. And she's done a lot of different, ventures. And I think at a young age to have those all culminated together to allow her to be able to be an incredible branding expert, website expert. And I like that she's, a millennial. So she kind of has a fresh take on social media design, but she also has a real heart for helping folks, which is something I absolutely appreciate as well. And so I'm going to bring to the stage here virtually with me, Mckenna Delaney. Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Hello. I'm great. How are you this morning?
I am kicking butt and taking names. This is one of my favorite days of the week is Thursday when I get to interview awesome folks. And when we hit it off, I was like, wow, I loved your story. I loved everything about it. And so I'd love for you to tell the viewers here today, because there's always been this conversation on this show because it's tips, tricks, and hacks for entrepreneurs. So are entrepreneurs, are they born? Are they, developed? I mean, how does that work? Because you came from a long line of entrepreneurs and a family just of generational entrepreneurs. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm just really, really curious.
I think it's a little bit of both. As I'm on my entrepreneurial journey, it's becoming more apparent to me that some people just don't have it, and that's okay. Because those of us who do have it, we were like, why doesn't everyone want to do what we do? Why doesn't everyone want their own business and their time freedom and the ability to make unlimited income? But not everybody wants that, and we have to be okay with it. But and I was probably on track to be one of those people. But if it weren't for my nurture, right? My nurture, not my nature. It would be very different. So yeah, just like you said, I came from a very long line of entrepreneurs. Actually, I have a family lineage book of how far the business goes back. And it's, I think late 1800s is how far I went back. So, yeah. Yeah. So, you're in California, right?
Yep. You're in Tennessee.
Pacific Coast Lumber. This is what it used to be called. Pacific Coast something or other. It's a huge company supply in California. But anyway, my great somebody started it, and my grandpa at one point took over the company in Sacramento, and he was a big influence in Sacramento.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's just been growing up, knowing the life that my mom lived as a child because of his entrepreneurship. They used to fly to lunch. Okay, they used to fly to Vacaville for lunch. That's how cool they were. And just knowing all of that and being able to see what that life looks like is, I think, what drove me. But yeah, my dad was a salesman at a corporate company, actually, when he was first introduced to network marketing. And so he, in order to get a meeting with one of the big accounts, he had to watch a video. And anyway, so he fell in love with the company. He joined, and that was probably when I was about 17 or 18. So I was really able to early on, we were going to millionaire boot camp and just having this deep understanding of, not that we were millionaires, but that's what they called it, and so I got this deep understanding of there is an alternative life out there, and I don't have to go to an office every day. I am the queen of being myself, right? That is a skill of mine. I know who I am, what I will and won't do, and why I will and won't do that. So even for school, I only went to school 3 days a week for most of my high school years, 3 or 4 days a week. And so I was like, the idea of sitting in an office for 5 days a week was not it for me. But I was severely introverted, and I really just didn't have very many friends in high school. And towards the end there, of course, they get to the point where you have to decide what you want to do with your life. What degree are you going to go get? And just trying to figure all of that out, I sat down and I evaluated what I wanted to do and who makes the most money. And I determined that was salespeople. So I set out on a journey to teach myself how to sell. And so I think that is part of that. Kind of goes back to your question, that ties it back in that big loop, right? That there is like some level of, I was able to see what that life of an entrepreneur can offer firsthand. So that was like a blessing to me, because there are so many people that don't have that, right? And then I also kind of had the tools available to make it happen, and the wherewithal to learn, right? I had to learn how to be a different person, essentially, because it wasn't me.
So you had examples of what was possible first, and then you got a really good self-education. And I think that weighs out way more than a college. Did you end up doing the college thing just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I did. I went for 4 years and then stayed on for a master's certification in business coaching.
So you did finish college and you did do all that, like, supposed to do stuff. A lot of entrepreneurs don't. Have you ever had, I think you did, I think you had a real job before?
I have never had a real job.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I'll tell you this. While I was in high school, kind of going through that journey I was just talking about, I worked at a hair salon. I was making $8.25 an hour, and my mom was working as an insurance agent, and she was making $400 an hour. And I was like, yeah, this ain't it. No. And so I studied. As soon as I turned 18, I studied and got my insurance license. And while I was in high school, I was selling Medicare Advantage plans to people over the age of 65. And so that was like my first, like, I guess, job. But I mean, I only did it as much as I needed money, right? As a high schooler. I always had way more money than my friends, and everybody thought it's because my parents gave it to me. I'm like, no, I just like, I'm working smart. But and then after that, I ended up getting a job as a freelance sales specialist for all the big makeup companies. So I've worked for NARS, Guerlain, Bare Minerals, you name it, I've worked for them. But even then, I got to make my own schedule and work the amount of hours that I wanted. So it wasn't a real job. And then the business I have now, and I've done various things in between as well.
Right. I know you're a serial entrepreneur. It's funny. We are a lot alike. Like in college and high school, I always had some sort of side hustle going on.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Why didn't you go into network marketing? Your parents were network marketing. I know you're the more traditional business route with your web and branding. So tell me a little bit about, how you ended up. Did you dabble in it? Did it?
Uh-oh, you froze for a second, but did you dabble in it is where you ended, so I will go from there. But yes, I did dabble in it. So we were with a company called World Ventures, and as an introvert, I really hated to travel, so that really felt incongruent, but I was so convinced that I needed to be an IMD. I wanted to get that top rank, and I'm like, but I hate traveling. Like, what? This is not it for me.
Not even close.
Yeah, not it. So after kind of coming to that realization, I left that company, and my dad was still with it for maybe a little while. And then there were probably some companies in between, but I was kind of thrusted into Agnes and Dora, which was a clothing boutique company that was kind of an offshoot family member type thing of LuLaRoe that never gained nearly the traction that LuLaRoe did. But I had a boutique in my house, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of inventory for people to come try on. I thought it was my dream to be a boutique owner. It was not.
Of a nightmare. Well, I'm glad you found what makes your heart sing now, which is helping small business owners, have a voice on online. Let me ask you this though, too, because you did mention that you're an introvert, which I think is funny. And I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are introverts. And I think that some people use that as an excuse why they wouldn't do business. Oh, I'm an introvert, right? So I know you were good at school and all that good stuff. So talk to me about, how did you correlate that into, being successful in business? Because that could be a challenge, but you could also use it as a strength.
Yeah, so it's definitely a strength, even though people think it is a challenge. Now, social media is a challenge because I don't like to be visible necessarily. Like this is one of the first times I've done something like this. I guess I've done it maybe one or two other times, but it's not a usual type of thing for me. Because I just don't like. I don't get on Instagram stories. I don't get on Facebook stories. I don't really share much about my life just because I don't know. I'm introverted, right? But yeah, I think that it can be used as an excuse, but it's a bonus because I am a really good listener as an introvert, whereas I have like lots of extroverted friends, and sometimes they miss the details. It's just who they are as extroverts, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, as an introvert, when I made that realization and got that kind of self-education, like you were talking about, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, a couple of books that I read were Daniel Pink's How to Sell as Human. That one was a big deal for me because I was always like, oh, I can't be a salesperson. I can't be a salesperson. My mom and dad were salespeople. And at the end of the day, the biggest lesson that I learned from this book is that we all are salespeople, right? We all have to sell something, whether it's ourselves to get someone to like us or to buy or sell an item. It really doesn't matter. And the other thing about sales is like, you are not conning someone into something. That's everybody thinks that who's scared of selling, that you're some kind of con artist, and you're not. You're just, what if you didn't have a salesperson when you go to pick out a fridge at Best Buy? What are you going to do? You got to figure all that out for yourselves, but instead they have feedback, they have knowledge. Or like the job that I had as a makeup artist, somebody comes in and they need help with knowing which foundation is going to work for them. Well, guess what? I'm the one who knows that because I'm the salesperson, and so I think that's a really important thing for introverts to understand is we sell ourselves every day, whether you think you are or not. And it's not as dirty and creepy as it seems like. It seems like it's going to be, because it ends up being fun. You get to help people and change their lives and give them solutions to problems. And I think that that's the biggest thing. If you look at it from a servant's perspective, from a servant heart, I think you can really have a good experience in that. Like, when I'm talking to somebody about brand design, right, I am explaining the benefits of what the transformation of their business will see when we're done with the process. Something that they need, they need to have a consistent brand, so that's kind of the perspective I learned, and that really helped me kind of get by. Plus, you get to share something you're excited or passionate about too. It's hard to sell something you don't like.
Totally. I think I took a couple notes here, but I love how you said, you're problem solving. I mean, and that's why you get paid. We get paid to the value we bring to the market, as Jim Rohn says. And the bigger the problems that you solve, the more money that you can make. If you could solve world peace, then you'd make a whole lot of money. You could solve whatever. And I love the fact that I always say that too. I think everyone's in sales. If you've ever been on a date, for crying out loud, you're in sales, right? You had to sell yourself to get in there, or get a job. You have to be in sales to get it, land the job and beat other people out. So I think everybody's in sales. Now, for those of you who are watching live, you're welcome to put questions to Mckenna as well. She can answer those. So I think it's hilarious that you're a millennial, you are an introvert, and you don't do social media. I just think that is hilarious. Because I feel like all of the young people, they live their whole life right out there for everyone to see. Any other thoughts on social media before I ask you some questions about branding and all the website stuff?
Yeah, so I have kind of a philosophy on social media. Of course, having a direct sales boutique, my big push was for people to be in my Facebook group. And that's great. That's fine. That's dandy. But if that's the only place that I can sell to people, that's my marketplace. To me, that's really bad. That's a flawed system, because Facebook can yank it from me or change the algorithm or kill my visibility in a heartbeat. And it was actually a coach that I had in college. My school assigned me a coach, and it was really an interesting, cool school. But the first thing she said is like, "Do you have an email list?" And I was like, you mean like all my clients are in my PayPal account? And she's like, no, like, are you marketing to them on email? And I was like, why? I have a Facebook group. And she said, because Facebook can take that away from you at any point. And, they don't necessarily always want you to be selling on their platform, or they're going to monetize it, or who knows what the future looks like. You should have a backup. And to me, that was like a pivotal moment in my business brain to be like, oh, I need to do something else. So I've always carried that through, and I really just don't get business on social media. I never have. So the pull to post for no reason has never been there for me. Now, do I post on Instagram? Yes, I do, because it feeds in and looks beautiful on my website. That's why I do it. To be completely honest, that's why I do it. But I don't really care about anything else regarding Instagram. But yeah, that's why I don't like having my eggs in one basket for somebody else to control. So that's my big thing. Get out there, meet people in your community, network, create connections around the country in different ways that are not controlled by someone else.
It's funny that you say that, because I mean, we met networking, and since we're online, we can go anywhere.
Yeah.
I have just like a really random aside question. What do you use for email gathering, blasting, and all that? Is it Monkey Chip or whatever that stuff is? What do you use for that?
That would be MailChimp. I use Flowdesk. I love Flowdesk. It's only $19 a month if you get like somebody's affiliate code. Go ahead. Flowdesk. FLODESK.
Yes, I'm not using that like I should be. I use my company's CRM, and I use social media. And that's, like you just said, I've been thinking about that exact same thing lately, because on Facebook, as far as like a business page, I have friends that are in Facebook, that work for Facebook, because it's right down the street here. And they're like, no, we want you to pay to show anything. So sorry, we're not going to show any of your stuff unless you're paying on your business page. I'm like, wow, isn't that interesting?
And like, let's touch on that for a minute. That's a big deal, that so many small business owners and solopreneurs and service providers think, oh, I've got to post on my Facebook business page. No, you don't. That's an ads manager. Unless you're paying, no one's really going to see it. So don't waste your time. No. And then the other thing is like posting on your personal page. Facebook doesn't want you to do that. That's against their terms of service. So you're really stuck in a rock and a hard place unless you're going to pay for visibility or have some sort of group. So it's unfortunate.
Well, just a little aside on that. Whatever I post on LinkedIn, I post on my Facebook business page just because I've already created it once. Who cares? But yeah, you're 100% right. So Facebook, even though it's probably the behemoth in there, it's working against small business owners. It wants you to pay to play. It wants the big stuff. So anyway, enough about the social media stuff. But it is really interesting, and it changes all the time. And you're 100% right. So I'm going to look at your Flowdesk, and I want your code. Okay. So let's talk about some do's and don'ts. I know you've seen it all, right? Like you go network and you see the plumber's website and you're like, oh my gosh. Or you see somebody who's like, just stole stuff right off of Canva, and you're like, wow, that is so no bueno. So let's hit the branding part, because you need to have that down before you can even go to the website part, right? So tell somebody, how do you even start? And I know you love Canva. So let's do some do's and don'ts to like getting, maybe you're a brand new business and you want to get that information out there and you want to make sure it's congruent with who you are. Tell us a little bit about some do's and some don'ts on branding.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever somebody starts a business, right, the fun part is like branding. It's you get to decorate or create the face of your business. Everybody thinks like the logo is the most central part, and as a logo designer, like, sure, that's important. It is not the most important part. The brand behind it is the most important part. What are your values? What do you stand for? What do you offer? And what transformation do you offer your clients, right? But beyond, hey, I built you a website, what transformation do you offer? Like, for example, mine might be somebody's more excited to stand up in a networking meeting and go check out my website. It's beautiful. Like, I get that a lot because I meet people in networking meetings. And so I think that it's important that you can be proud of what you have to show, because if you're not, then you won't promote it. But the do's and don'ts would be, pick a set of colors that you like, that you connect with, that you feel like your ideal audience connects with, and stick to those, right? We don't need to be changing our color palette once a week. It's okay to add in some seasonal shades if you want to, promote for Christmas or whatever, but you need to be picking, 4 to 5 shades that are that fit with your brand. That's the first thing. I see so many people switching it up all the time. And then the other kind of don't is don't log on to Canva and use a Canva template logo. You can use Canva templates all day. They're fantastic. And you can get ideas from the logo templates. But if you just kind of switch out the letters and add your own name, guess what? 300,000 other people have that exact same logo. In which case, are you unique? not in the slightest. So, you know, I have no problem with you creating a logo in Canva that's temporary until your business can afford to invest in something different, but make sure that you are editing it at least a little so that you have something unique to represent your business. Those are kind of my biggest do's and don'ts. Now, as far as like a do to find your color palette, something that is fun to do is go to this website. It's called Coolors, COOLORS.co. And there's a color generator there that you can play with, and it's so much fun. And you can pick a color. You can pick a set of colors that way that all work together. So,
I love it, and I'm going to put that in the chat here really quick. So it's COOLORS.co, and we'll put that in there, and I'll pop it up there for those of you who are watching us on YouTube. I also missed something. Jeannie Lyons, I love her. She says, I love that you've tried so many things. So many people are afraid to try, and look how your experience led you to your success. That's awesome.
Yes.
Sorry, Jeannie, I wasn't paying attention to the comments. I was so enthralled with our conversation.
I think I want to touch on that though real quick for Jeannie. You know, she's so right. Like, so many people would consider some of the things I've done to be like failures, you know, but like my boutique, I don't look at it as a failure. It was training wheels. You know, it led me to find out what I actually liked. Would I have ever made a social media graphic if I didn't have that business and figure out that that's actually what I really love to do? No. I would never have figured that out. I mean, never is a strong word, but unlikely. It was through creating social media graphics that I realized I love Canva and design. And that's how I got to the business I have today. So it's all a journey. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to try on different hats until we find out what we love. You know, I certainly didn't start out in the business I am in currently as a web designer. I didn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to design websites. I woke up one day and said, I'm going to make Canva graphics.
And I think it's important too, because like you said, there are no failures. There's just learning experiences of what you don't like and what you're not good at that'll help you figure out what you are good at. So I appreciate that more than you know. Yeah. So we'll sorry about the diversion there, but that was great. Thanks, Jeannie. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about okay, so everybody says, okay, I'm going to do Canva. I'm going to create my own stuff. They're all the DIY. I got this, right? And you're like, wow. And I was there. Oh my gosh. I found an old brochure, Mckenna, that I made for my health insurance company like 22 years ago. And I pulled that thing out, and it was mauve and like light blue. And it had a plus on it because it was Basic Plus was my like product line that I created. And I was like, wow, that is so low budget. And so what do you have? I should have saved it. I pitched it, but it would have been funny to show that right now.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the do-it-yourselfers, maybe some do's and don'ts of websites. And I feel like everyone should just hire someone like you, but let's hit the DIY folks here.
Yeah, so what I like to do is actually have people buy Canva templates, and there's all kinds of memberships that you can do. I actually used to have a membership. I don't anymore, but if you need Canva templates, you can hit me up because I built them already. I just couldn't manage the membership anymore. Like, it was just too much work. But yeah, buying Canva templates make them unique. They're not just whatever's generic in Canva. Not that there aren't some beautiful Canva templates. There definitely are. I've used them. But it definitely is a great way to find unique stuff that really fits with the vibe that you want to have. And that's going to appeal to your ideal audience. So when solopreneurs are kind of DIYing things, the issue they often run into is they're appealing to themselves. And that's not always the case. You know, what appeals to me may not appeal to my ideal client. So, like, for example, I happen to be one of the younger people in my networking group that I started my business in, and I was using a lot of pink backgrounds with white text. Well, turns out people a little bit older than me can't really read that so good. And so I actually had people come up to me and say, like, I can't really read your graphics. Okay. So that it doesn't matter if I like it because they can't read it. It doesn't matter. And so that's like a kind of something that's good to consider when you're DIYing. who are you trying to appeal to? Because that wasn't working.
That is hecka funny. Yeah. Anything else, do's and don'ts on a website? So now you got your branding, you got maybe your logo, you got your colors. Anything else, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, if you're going to be DIYing it, I highly recommend you grab this book called Building a Story Brand from Donald Miller. This is a game changer.
I'm putting in the chat real quick. Building a story, what?
Building a Story Brand from Donald Miller.
Okay.
That's a great one to kind of get an understanding on how to hone your brand message and figure out like what it is that you offer and what makes you different. And just, he teaches you that you should always have a call to action button in the top right hand corner of your website. Things like it needs, your website needs to pass the grunt test, which is if a caveman lands on your website, can he tell you what you do in 3 seconds? Wow. If you can't figure out what somebody does in 3 seconds on their website, they have failed.
That is powerful right there.
Yeah.
I know you were saying that you're kind of a young but an old soul, and I would have to agree. You're definitely got some incredible insights. I love that you're a book person too. We just talked about before we went live that leaders are readers, and I'm a huge PD, like professional development. That is my jam. I love it. I got book clubs. I got all kinds of stuff. Talk to me about your self-education and what did you do to get it? What kind of, I know you shared with us a couple of books, but talk a little bit about professional development and how that's played into your success. Because I'm going to tell your age right now. She's 28. Hello. I love this. You're amazing. So
thank you. Well, I'm going to show you 2 of my favorite books. So I have this one right here. And you probably think that looks kind of like a little tiny Bible, but it's not. It is The Greatest Salesman in the World from Og Mandino. Look, this book is so old. Look at it. It's so cute. So this was obviously a very important book. And then I've also got
before you go to the next one, what's so funny is that's our book of the month for September. So I do a big book and a little book. So that's my little book for September because we're reading Break the Habit of Being Yourself for the month of August, which is a big book. So I love you, woman. Okay, next book.
I love that. I need to be in your September one. I'll read it again. And then I've also got a really old copy of Think and Grow Rich from, I think this is this was like an original copy. I found it at the flea market and I live for it. And then another book that I've got sitting here is, and this one was really, 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 really pivotal for me in how I set up my business and how I recommend other people set up their business. And that is The E-Myth Revisited. And it just teaches you how to look at it from a perspective of how am I going to build this business backwards so that I can sell it? Because ultimately, we're not trying to create ourselves a job. We're trying to create ourselves an asset. And if you approach business that way, you're going to be more successful regardless of what you do.
I love it. It's genius. And it's obvious that the reason you seem like an old soul is because you've read and you've self-educated and you've done some amazing, amazing things. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I know we talked a little bit about, a lot of topics here today, selling and professional development and all these other things. Is there anything else that you want to share? Because I know you're an expert of everything. We only have a minute or 2 left. Is there any other pro tip you want to share before we close this out?
No, my biggest pro tip is buy this book. That's my biggest pro tip. That will change your business in more ways than just your website, in more ways than just your brand. When I read that book, my business literally was like this kind of, and then it just went off the rails. Just the understanding that you have from that short book. And it's super thin. Took me 2 hours to read. It's do it. Buy that book right now. Go do it.
I just adore you. So I know people are probably looking to engage with you, maybe even consult with you, and prayerfully they're done DIY and want to hire you to get their groove on and make sure their online and branding is coherent and present and all that good stuff. How would they reach out to you to connect?
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Even if you just want to connect and chat more. Even if you want to chat about books, I'm here for you. So www.mckennadelaney.com. And there's a contact form. You can just fill it out there, and I will email you back probably within an hour, and we can chat. I love it. Anybody wants to talk, I'm here for you.
Great. Well, I love your website too. It is beautiful and very even congruent with your background. So I get that you're really branding from just online to offline. You're amazing, my old soul and new friend. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another great On the Fly with Kai, where we give you tips, tricks, and hacks for entrepreneurs or people who want to be one. And I want to thank again my guest, Mckenna Delaney, for being here today. And we'll see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and all time zones in between. So take care, take charge. We'll see you over the top. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.